and it's okay. It's not. It isn't. But this is what's doing. Before I go into some of the things they're talking about, I just want to show you guys the craft I showed you in a previous video. So if you guys get a chance, if you could take a look. That is a chandelier made out of garbage, pretty much. So I have a video of it. So if you're interested, you could take a look at that. Um, the other point I want to make before I go into what they're talking about is that if you guys know anything about this whole idea that they have, that if you're not, that your head can see things that aren't there, and why they would think that's legal. None of this is legal. It's not. The other big thing is when we talk about what they're talking about, a lot of what they've tried to do is go over the same things over and over again. And I found that if I stop that way of crazy making, they go on to another way of crazy making, but at least it stops it. And they can go on this way. They're talking about things from the 1980s. So they can go on this way for so many years that they could talk about the same things over and over and over again. So what I want to talk about is they were talking about why I don't use the word everybody as much as everyone. They said they thought it was because it sounded like more like classy or something like that. I think that sounds stupid, to be honest. They said, well, in my videos, I seem to have a nasty attitude. I would hope so. I would hope that anyone dealing with this deals with it with a nasty attitude and not friendly. There was something I read years ago, and I wrote an article about it in 2013. It's called The Sociopath Next Door. Can you guys see that? And it's a book that is really good by Martha Stout, who's a PhD. And what I wrote in the article is this, and this is another thing. They want to be able to track my eye movements when I read so they couldn't read along with me. So I'm going to let you guys see what they're seeing. So they said they wanted to see it from my eyes. I'm going to have you guys see from their eyes. So I said, I recently wrote an article about abuse tactics. After completing the article, I wanted to learn more about the types of people who use, manipulate, and abuse others. My research led me to the book, The Sociopath Next Door by Martha Stout, PhD. The Sociopath Next Door cites specific examples of sociopathic behavior and the motivation behind these behaviors. Although the book progresses slowly in certain parts, it is thorough and informative. It definitely achieves its objective in explaining sociopathy and providing clear examples of it in everyday life. According to Dr. Stout, 1 person out of 25 people is a sociopath. That means that 4% of the population consists of people who lack remorse, empathy, and a conscience. Translation: recognizing these people is important to ensure your safety. The key that Dr. Stout explains is that a sociopath's main goal is to win. The mind games, stalking, and character assassination are a means to an end. The end being that the sociopath is able to dominate and control you. The constant phone calls, text messages, and stalking are tools to intimidate you. Another reason why this book is so fantastic is that The Sociopath Next Door explains a common tactic used by the sociopath called the pity play. Although sociopaths do not have empathy, they know that you do. So they will prey upon your empathy to get what they want from you. Their goal may be money, time, attention, or just to break your spirit. This book gives you an example of pity play and a list of ways to spot a sociopath before he or she spots you. And that's the name of the book and the name of the author. Why this is so important is because we're talking about psychological operations and tactics, and that is something you have to know. When I said in the beginning, they can go over the same examples. They're going over things from when I was a child. I'm 52. Over and over and over again. And it's just to win. So when they see me with a nasty attitude, it bothers them. They said, I use the word I a lot. In one video, I played with the word me. Like, as you know, I like to write. So even though I'm not writing and this is unscripted, I like to play with certain words. It's just what I like to do. And it bothers them. Why? Because if I talk about I, like they said, they don't even like the sound of how I say the word I. If I talk about I, me, it's automatically me and myself. So you see that? They just said the word, it puts up a shield between me and them. A sociopath can't have that. You can't be a separate, distinct person with your own family, your own life, your own interests, because they need to dominate. They need to take over everything. You cannot exist. You cannot be. If you are being, then they are going to be your unbeing. They're going to take you apart. So if you guys ever get a chance, like I said, to read this book, it's a very good book. You learn a lot about these things. And what I read to you was something I wrote in 2013. So that's kind of a long time ago. The other thing they were talking about is when they were talking about things that I did in college, they were upset because they're like, well, at 20 years old, aren't you almost an adult? I don't think kids mature until they're 25, but definitely not college kids. I think the sad part about it is that you could be 20 years old, but think about what you're doing when you're in school. You're so wrapped up in the same type of schoolwork and classmates and so forth that you were as a child. So the setting in and of itself is, in a lot of ways, still that child setting. You're not an adult. So for people to say, well, if you're 20 and you're in school, you're an adult. Well, first of all, legally, you hit adulthood at 18, but you don't get most of your rights until you're 21. So a 20-year-old is not a 21-year-old. But also because you're still in that setting of, in a way, it's a childlike setting. You have teachers who tell you what to do, classmates, school system. You don't have that adult experience yet. So when they were talking, they said something about how did I become a member of the Matteo Ricci Society? Well, this is something that I got that's dated November 1993. So I turned 20 in December 1993. So I was still 19. So now are we going to play the game of, well, you're 19 and so what I'm saying is a lot of what they're talking about from decades ago is when I was a 19-year-old or 20-year-old and I'm in a school setting. So would I consider myself, especially now looking back on myself, an adult? No. But I think it's important that you guys know that. Now, when they were talking, they said, well, most of the things that I was supposed to apply for were going to be overseas. No, it wasn't. You can see here, I'm going to just show you some of the fellowship opportunities were available to college juniors, and they weren't all in another country. So you can see right here, it wasn't supposed to always be overseas. So some of the things that are written right here, the State Farm Scholarship for Gifted Students. Again, the idea that they tried to criticize, like, why would you be a part of something that was only for overseas? It wasn't supposed to be. Okay, the other thing they talked about was I was in an African Heritage Month celebration for HEOP. So they thought I was ashamed of HEOP. Not at all. Not at all. But this is how they think. Again, part of the sociopath is that they need you to have a certain image. I don't need that image for myself. I couldn't be that. I just couldn't, which is partly the problem with all of this. So this is from February 8th, 1994. And so I did a speech for this. And I think, I know online I did a video where I let you guys hear part of my speech. And you guys will know that that was 1994, February of 1994. Okay, so then they said that I used to be out and I wouldn't come into work when I worked at Verizon. Well, here's an outstanding attendance of the month that I got. This is back in 2000. So clearly I was showing up for work. They said I used to be rude to customers. Here's an outstanding customer contacts for the year 2000. So clearly a lot of their lies are just made up to make me upset, to get me, to a point where I'm up here. When I'm going over what makes me up here, it's not just the lies, it's the fact that the sociopaths, they can keep doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again without a conscience. So they try to say, well, I don't care about certain things. Caring isn't the same as not having a conscience. Okay. They keep confusing things. They have no conscience. They can do all of these horrible things for years and never stop. It never affects them. Not caring about everything is perfectly normal. There's nothing in human nature that says you have to care about everything and everyone all the time. That's not me. It wouldn't be me. I'm not going to sit here and lie. They kept saying, well, won't that affect your business? Won't that affect your GoFundMe? No. And that's not my thought process. That's theirs. So their thought process is to appeal to everyone and everything to be fake and phony, only to have it just sound ridiculous to me. I'm at a point in my life that to me that this whole thing sounds ridiculous. To fake being someone you're not in order to get money. Not me. To have a fake image that, for what? What's the point of the fake image? I don't get it. I don't understand it. To pretend that I will care about everyone and everything, impossible. Impossible, especially now. It wouldn't work for me. I'm not going to be that person. I'm not going to pretend to be that person. There are going to be things I don't care about. There will be people like them who I don't care about. I'm not going to pretend to. They have lost everything in my eyes. Really. They've lost it. And they won't gain it back. Does that mean I won't ever be successful again? Maybe. But if being honest is the way that I was successful in the past, which it was, then that's what I'm going to continue to do. I believe that we've been spoon-fed a crazy thought process that human nature isn't natural. That in order to be a higher level of human, you have to be something that isn't normal. I don't agree. I agree that I believe human nature is what it is. There's a reason for things. There's a reason for human nature. And when you don't want to accept that part of yourself, I believe it causes all of this worry, pretense, fakeness. And when it catches up to you, it's like, whoa. Whereas if you just accept your human nature all along, you don't have that moment. So when they said they were surveilling me for almost 50 something years, I was like, whew, now I didn't do anything wrong. I'm good. And they even said it. But then all of a sudden they started lying just to get me upset, because it wasn't supposed to be, you're surveilling me all along, I'm good. It was supposed to be, what did you catch me doing? What did you catch me saying? Nothing. Nothing. Then when I want to let you guys know, I didn't tell you guys this before, but I wanted to let you guys know, I put it on another court record. And I'm happy that that was possible. And I want to thank everyone who helped me make that possible. They talked out loud and admitted it wasn't supposed to be real. It was supposed to be in my head. I'm supposed to think this. So when I'm showing you things that go against they just said the word contradict, everything that they lied about, and it's out loud and it's real, it shows that if they were surveilling me and lying all along, then who's surveilling them and double checking their lies? Why should I be the person double checking them? The other big point I want to make about that is that if human nature is what it is, then they were taking advantage of me. They used their position in order to spy on me and hurt me and try to dominate me. They said she's going to go back to talking about being a sociopath. That's what they said. Again, I didn't say it. They said it. So they used their position over me to try to take advantage of me. And someone just said, see, their voices are human voices. They pretended that this was going to be a computer voice. It's not a computer voice, it's a human voice. So the point I'm getting to is that it wouldn't be possible for me to worry about everyone, everything, pretend to be someone I'm not, and for them to have let me get away with it as it's happening. It didn't happen that way. And the other point I want to make is that when they were pretending that this system doesn't exist, oh, this is made up, not just to me. Like, again, they want it to focus on, I'm this, I'm that. What about the thousands of other people who they did this to over the years, who never ever got to put it on court records because the courts wouldn't hear it? What about the thousands of other people who went on medication to get rid of voices and those voices remained because it wasn't in their heads? Someone else put those voices on them. What about everyone else they took advantage of? They wanted me to talk about the celebrities that they took advantage of. The reason I'm not doing that is because, as you guys know, there's something bad going on. I don't know what it is. I don't know how to describe it. I can't even begin to tell you what I think it is. But I can't go into those things right now. I'll probably later, once some of it goes away. But right now is not the right time for all of this. But the point is that if they had the ability to care about people, they would have done something about all of this years ago when it would have made more sense to do it. They lack the basic empathy and conscience to do these things when they matter. The other point that they lack is the ability to care about anyone. I say honestly, I can't care about everyone. I just can't. I don't have as much time, energy, resources in me. I don't. They care about no one. They have none of the empathy, the conscience, the resources, the energy to care about anyone but themselves. And that's why this had to come out this way. It's wrong. It's what they did to me is wrong, but what they did to just from the people they named, I can't even put a number of people, because it's not just you that they do it to. They do it to your whole family, all your coworkers, every single person whose life you're in gets affected by this. So it's not just, okay, you did it to me. Well, think about all my coworkers, all the people I interact with who you're surveilling them too. That's partly why I said in the beginning, if you had any contact with me, call the FBI, call the police. Because if they were surveilling me, they were surveilling you also. So this surveillance was happening to all of us. If I'm in a public place and this is happening, which it does, every single person in that place is affected by this. They don't care. Thank you for watching.